Now, before you start tape 2, I hope that you've mastered tape 1. In other words, it's very important to have went through tape 1 because it shows us the basics. Now, we have already learned that with one stick, it is just as deadly. In other words, it can hurt, it can be an efficient weapon. The advantages of 2 sticks is now that we have to coordinate both sides of the body. The beautiful thing about using 2 sticks is, while your opponent only has one, while he makes a strike or something, we can block and strike at the same time. An example of this can be shown here. In other words, I just block, parry, and then I strike at the same time. This is the advantage of the double sticks. The single stick is deadly, the double stick is twice as deadly. Now, it is very important to follow the basics of tape 1. You must know the basic movements. In tape 1, you learn to make a certain strike. In tape 2 now, we're going to learn how to use double strikes. It's the same basic thing. We're not going to go or emphasize the grip or anything else, which is very important. We've already covered that in tape 1. That's why it is very important that you follow tape 1. Again, at any time that you think you're having any problems, review your tapes. If you have to go to tape 1, go back to tape 1. Because now that is where the terminology came from, and a lot of times I'll say terminology in tape 2. If you didn't go to tape 1, you won't understand it. So we're not going to go into a lot of the basics, we're going to go straight into the nitty-gritty. The advantages of the 2 sticks is, again, while he makes an attack, we can block and at the same time strike. And this is what you're going to learn. No matter what he does, the advantage is that I can now block and strike at the same time, which makes it a lot easier to work with. You see? And so this is the thing. Again, follow us, review, replay, put it in slow motion. Some of these scenes will be in slow motion, so it gives you an advantage to look at them over again in slow motion on your own video machine. But anytime you don't understand anything, do not go on. Go back. If you have to, review tape 1. That is the essentials. We taught you the basics. We want you to learn. We don't want you to go if you don't understand. Now let's go into review of the proper striking techniques. In tape 1, we showed you to strike basically with the tip of the weapon and not the shaft. It's the same thing that we'll do here. Here, if you hit with the shaft, you don't get as much power. There are times you might have to hit with it, but the main thing is you want to hit with the tip, not the shaft. Now we'll demonstrate here, hitting with the whole shaft. In other words, the energy is distributed along the whole shaft so you don't get any penetration. We'll try it one more time. Notice how the piece of paper just moves. Now, if we strike with the tip, using wrist action, momentum of the body, hip rotation, and hitting basically with the tip like we would in karate, using the top 2 knuckles or a chop, or with the edge of the hand, we can put all that energy in the tip of the weapon. Here we're concentrating on the tip. Notice what happens. We concentrate all that energy at the tip. This is what you want to do with the stick. One more time. Watch the tip. See that energy? Now, if I hit with the whole shaft, the energy is distributed along the whole shaft. It pushes the paper. When I go to the tip, just like a dum-dum, a hollow point bullet. A high velocity hollow point bullet. Energy is distributed to the tip. Watch the wrist action. It snaps just like a whip. Tremendous velocity. Now, striking and blocking combinations. As with any self-defense technique or martial arts, you have to learn to defend. So here when we go into the double sticks, we go into the basic techniques again. The lower right position, the hip position, the left hip position, the upper right and upper left positions. Any of the basic techniques that you learned in basic tape 1 are the same here. Here you can see we're in these basic position here. Lower right, we can thrust. Lower hip. This is our first position, low. Now watch how easy it is with the thrust. So keep both of the weapons down and we can bring them up very easy. Put them into play. Stances are the same. We learn the lunge. Here the weapon is just brought into play by just raising it. Again, you hold onto the weapon like you would a hatchet or a hammer with a good strong grip, but don't choke it. To bring it into play, all I do is raise, I block with one, I thrust with the other. That's the beauty about two sticks, the double sticks. Now I put it on the high hip position for thrusting. I'm holding in both of these positions. This is our second position, on the hip, ready for thrusting. Immediately it can go into play, especially for thrusting techniques or parrying techniques. Very fast. Here we parry thrust. Parry thrust. Parry thrust. The beauty about two sticks is that we can now parry and thrust at the same time. Now cross arm or left hip if I only had the right hand. So cross hip position. We're now holding them both in the cross hip. I can now slash from either side or both at the same time. These are natural positions and you learn the double eskrima from both these positions. Parry slash, parry slash. Next position is the upper right position and upper left position. I can now come across with either side. Here I'm using a V strike, V, 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 back and forth. It's now natural. High right and high left position. There was a V strike, parry strike, working both. Watch the natural flow of the body. Still standing in that triangle stance. The next stance is cross arm high. Just like we had cross arm low, we now have cross arm high. Again, we can strike with both weapons or one weapon. Even though it looks like we're tied up, we're not, because we can strike from either side. Again, the triangle stance. Parry slash, parry slash, parry slash. These won't be your only techniques, we'll show you several. Notice once I block, I can strike at the same time. Natural flow. Parry slash. Striking a target of opportunity. When you try this, experiment a little bit. Try the number of techniques that you can or cannot use effectively. Now, the forward guard position. The right hand is in the forward, the left is on the left hip position. Forward guard position. Right hand is in the forward guard, the left is toward the left hip thrust position. Here I'm making lunges. Parrying with the left, even though you don't see it. Parry and thrust at the same time. Moving in a forward stance or lunge stance. This is our sixth guard. Our sixth guard is the forward fencing position, which is the right hand now. Now, notice the left hand can parry low left, parry low left, low left, at the same time thrust. Low left thrust, low left thrust. This is a natural, easy position. Working both weapons at the same time. And then strikes, you see, block low left and same time thrust. Notice I'm in a lunge position. Sometimes thrusting, sometimes slashing. Here I use the left hand to parry. High left, spike up. Spike up because the blade is up, or the stick is up. So I block high, same time I make my lunge or thrust. Notice I get in lunge position and I recover. There we go. Left high spike. I could still continue with the left and strike at my opponent if I wanted to. Striking with both weapons if necessary. Here what I do is I now hold it in a low right position, my forward weapon. I now bring it in the spike up, parrying to the side and thrusting with the left. As you can see, the combinations are endless. Once you learn these basic techniques, you will create for yourself. You will begin to experiment and find the numerous, unlimited ways that you can vary your techniques. Here again, we watch the simplicity of motion, where all I do is just bring that right weapon up, spike up, where I can thrust. Same time thrusting with the left. Here we make an overhead block, right overhead block, and the same time strike. Left hand naturally can be used for thrusting, blocking, parrying. Both weapons can be used for blocking, striking, or parrying. The overhead block with continuous flow. Block, strike, block, thrust. Triangle stance. Here a left high fender, striking, thrusting. Left high fender with the right hand. Natural flow into a lunge stance. At first you may never get this power. You might not get this velocity where you can break wind. After a while, as you get stronger, you'll start finding it more natural. Naturally, you'll be able to break wind at the beginning, but as your arm tires and everything, you'll sore, you might not be able to do it. Given enough time, you'll be able to do it continuously. Again, anytime you have any problems, replay the tape over and over until you learn these basics. These are nothing but basics. Repetition, repetition. Here you're seeing a left fender to the middle area and then a strike. In other words, remember what a left fender is. It starts from the handle to the center, it moves to the left, fending your opponent's weapon away from you. The left hand is ready to strike. Repeat these drills over and over with your partner. Increase the speed as you go along. Left fender can be trained very well in this. Again, your right hand comes across to the left center. Parry thrust. Sending your opponent's attack off to the side, at the same time thrusting. By using body motion, body English, or by footwork. Here we plow down to the right and thrust. In other words, we're meeting our opponent's weapon. We say plow down because it looks like a plow. We're knocking the weapon off to the side, and at the same time we can thrust with the same weapon. Here you parry with the right and thrust with the left. There's this crouch stance. Here we're making an overhead, and a strike. Any strike that comes overhead, whether it's a thrust or whether it is a strike, this technique is excellent for it. Once you parry, you can use any combination you want to vary them. Here we call a scissors block. A scissor block, just like the scissors. You're going to catch your opponent weapon overhead. He strikes down on you, you're catching it in between, throwing it off to the side, and same time striking. Double strike. Striking the target of opportunity, the head, the neck, the shoulders. This is a strong block, especially if a person has a heavier weapon than you. You now have reinforced. In other words, you've got two weapons blocking against his one, whatever strikes from overhead. Catch it in between that V when you bring it up, the scissors. Just like a large pair of scissors. The same block is now pulled to your left side. As this pair of scissors, you catch his weapon in between, and then you counter strike. Again, just bring it up, catch his weapon to the side. One is ready to thrust, the other is ready to slash or strike. Catch his weapon, here I am slashing at him or striking at him. The left hand is ready to thrust. Now, we practiced on the left. We do the same thing on the right. We did it overhead. We did it to the left. Now we do it to our right side. The same. That was a pair of scissors. You catch his weapon. The right hand is now ready to thrust, to spike up. The left one is ready to slash. Again, you're using two against his one. A big pair of scissors to catch it. Or a plus sign. Notice that right hand is ready to thrust. Comes up into a big scissors. The left hand is ready to slash. The right hand is ready to thrust. Becomes natural. Notice I moved into a crouch stance. I went from a triangle to a crouch stance. Experiment with your stances. Stances are only transition. In other words, you're temporary, but you have to have a good foundation. Now we blocked overhead to the left, to the right. Well, the same thing down. Anything that comes low, we're going to do the same thing and block down, intercept. In other words, put your weapon in between him, cover behind it. That's the name of the game. Hide behind your weapon. That's the obstacle course. Anytime you're fighting an opponent, it's a mini war. And what you're doing is you're putting up two of these scissors, or the scissor in front of you, to catch his weapon, to make it hard for him to come at you. It's an obstacle.